Pat Ngongba has been a victim of the injury bug during his time at Duke, but he is back for his junior season and he is attempting to change that narrative. I'm Danny back with the second episode of the Duke Pulse podcast, and I have another player preview here. The end of last season didn't go how Pat wanted it to, and it likely swayed his decision to stay. I kind of viewed it as like a crossroads of a decision. Option one, like one more injury could kill your draft stock, so you can go while you have that definite draft value. He would have gotten picked, maybe first round. And then option two, you can stay and prove that you can be injury free, which would definitely catapult him up in the draft, especially next, not this season. It's going to be a stacked draft, but the following draft, it's going to be pretty weak. So if he can stay injury free, then he should definitely go pretty high in the first round. Um, Last year, he stepped up to the plate in every matchup against the top front courts last season. So that should be an indicator for next season. I really think that Pat is going to be one of the top centers in the nation next year. Pat is very good in the pick and roll, and he's also good at just cutting to the basket and finding open space to receive the ball. And John loves taking advantage of this. It's a big part of his offense, and it should be again next season. So I have some clips here again. This first one comes against SMU. It starts with Pat having the ball at the top of the key. Again, John loves to use that as his offense. It takes advantage of Pat's passing skills and it just pretty much leaves the paint open, especially that near the basket, so they can really work, get some cuts in and all that. So it starts here. Cam sets a pick for Darren, who comes up. Doesn't really work. He passes it back to Pat, and Nick tries it on the other side for Caden. And then instead of giving it to him, Pat gives it to Nick right here, and he actually sets the pick here. And so Nick and Pat are in a pick and roll, and Nick is a great passer. I don't think he really showcased as much last year, had the opportunity to, but he can dish the rock. So pretty much putting their two big guys in a pick and roll, and Nick just finds the open lob. Pat's able to make that cut to the net, beat his guy, and gets up. It's pretty simple. The next clip is in a non-con game against Howard. Pretty much, Cam sets the pick for Foster. Foster's dude plays over the screen, and their guys don't switch. So by playing over the screen, not switching, Foster pretty much has a straight beat to the net. And so Pat's guy has to step up, and he just takes a step towards the net. Caleb notices it and makes the easy read, and Pat's able to dunk. Against Cal, this clip was already shown in the first episode with Caden's player preview, but Pat sets the screen up top. They worked really well together. Illich played and dropped because Caden's not known for shooting off the dribble. And pretty much right here, he takes a step towards Caden to play the ball rather than the roller. And Caden recognizes that and makes the easy lob to Pat. And this isn't like some crazy work. It's kind of just Pat being able to play above the rim and really being a great option for guys to pass to when they have the numbers advantage. This next one is against Notre Dame. It's not like the typical pick and roll lob like the last ones, but calls his classic off-ball screen for the shooter Isaiah here, and pretty much both defenders are kind of stepping up to Isaiah, and so he has the open pass to Cam, and so from that, Carson Tout was Pat's defender. He now has to slide over and pick up Cam, and pretty much leaving Ngongba, and Pat from here slides under the basket and is ready to receive the pass because it's essentially 2-on-1. And Cam recognizes this, jumps into him, so Tout can't pivot, and makes a great pass to Pat, who gets an easy dunk. So yeah, he's really able to find the open pockets and make himself available to the driver as another option for pretty much a free layup or dunk under the basket every time. This one against Georgia Tech is kind of the same deal. Cam just blows by Ndongo there, and Silla has to step up right here. He's kind of still in between, so it would be a tough play. But Cam makes an extremely athletic move. He jumps up and just pretty much dishes the ball around him, and which takes Silla out of the play, and Ngongba gets the easy lay. But yeah, Pat, he's just very dangerous in the PNR or just on the cut for an option to look to. Especially last year, he worked with Caden very well, and I've said it many times before. I think they're going to be one of the best duo like chemistry guys in the nation. Caden's gonna have a lot of assists to Pat, and I think that's gonna reign true, especially again this year. Pat's scoring in the paint doesn't just come from the hands of other people, though. He does create his own, and he has great footwork to go along with it. He loves to go to his little right hook, which he has great touch on. So let's look at some clips here. First one's against Western Carolina. He sets the off-ball pick for the shooter Darren Harris. So instead of shooting it, he comes around it and drives, and Pat is able to roll off of it. He gets the ball here, and number 12 slides down well. It's not a wide open take, and his initial bump creates separation. Pat's first bump that he gives the defender, it is very lethal. It works a lot of the time, and he dunks it here, which isn't usual for him. Usually he lays it up. But watch it again. That just look at that first bump. It really moved him off, and he's strong. Pat is very strong, and he knows how to use his body. That's the first one. Second one is against Notre Dame again. He played very well at the start of that game, at least. Dame set a pick on Tout, and it left him wide open here. And Tout slid down pretty well and covering him. But Pat took a dribble and turned towards him, and then this was able helped him get to his right side, and he was really able to use his wingspan here. Like, look how close to the rim he is. He really does take advantage of that, and he was able to just put it right near the rim and finish. Next one's against Virginia. He has Grunlow on him. He's pretty much on an island, one on one. And Pat just straight bullies him, goes to the right, and yeah. And that's the great touch that I mentioned. He really is a good toucher on the rim, and right there, he just he little boyed him right there. Same game, he has Onyenso on him. Restart the clip. He's at the top of the key, like usual, like I said, playing that high-low game. And instead of giving it to Cam, he saw space to the right here, and he took advantage of it. And Onyenso is an incredible defender, especially interior. And he just beat Onyenso to the spot pretty much, and he timed it well going up and laid it off the backboard. So Pat, he really is a paint beast. I don't think that gets enough credit by the media. He is very good inside. And especially next year, he's not going to have a four as paint dominant as Cam Boozer was, so he's really going to have more space to operate. So I think Pat's going to expand even more on this, and he's going to be an absolute force down low. Pat is a terrific passer and is definitely utilized in Duke's system. Here against Michigan, Duke really needed a bucket. They're only up one with 3 minutes to go. And at this point in the game, John decided to take advantage of against Michigan's no switch defense. They weren't switch on anything. But he's at the top, which drew Mara out. And Cam sets the off ball for Isaiah, who pretty much just goes off it and he has a wide open paint. And Pat makes an excellent pass for the alley oop. That's an example of the paint being wide open. Here against Virginia Tech, this set's kind of being run. Pat's kind of lurking around, fake screen for Darren, all that. But he sets a screen for Darren here and then pops out for the pass. Darren, he does a nice little out in his defender. I believe that's Jaden Shoot. He's kind of in no man's land, but Darren recognized that, does the out and then Pat times up the bounce pass perfectly. Like this pass is not easy to make at all. The timing is great there, and Darren gets the easy dunk. And it's not like these passes are like it's not like they're with pressure on him, and he's probably not going to face that. Teams are just going to kind of let him hold the ball, and then he can really see how things work and then make the right pass there. This one against Florida, Isaiah runs around him, and Pat's able to bump Lee off, which gives Isaiah the advantage. And Pat's able to find the angle here, which, like, I think that's Condon. There's just there's no angle there, and Pat's able to bounce it in, stretches all the way out, and make an incredible bounce pass for Isaiah to get the easy bucket. And they had some good chemistry last year because, again, you see Isaiah does the out and in, and Urban, he's in Isaiah's pocket. And Pat makes a nice pass, and especially here, he keeps it high. He knows that if he keeps it like chest level, that ball's probably getting deflected and stolen right to Halk right there. So he makes an excellent pass. He puts it only where Isaiah can reach it. That's not an easy pass, and Isaiah gets the M1 right here. So it can be seen like that's why John loves playing Pat at the top of the key. It really opens the paint up. They can operate whatever they want, and Pat makes it. His timing and touch are really great, and he's able to make the right pass. So this is another way that Pat really takes the offense to the next level. For Pat, he is a good rim protector and he uses his strength to his advantage. That game against Terrace Reed in the Elite Eight, it wasn't a good reflection on how Pat is. He was playing with an injury. It was very obvious. That's why Reed pretty much had his way with him. But the one thing that Pat can clean up though is his foul trouble. He does have a tendency to get a little antsy, I guess, and that will have to get cleaned up. The first one here, it's Florida. Xavier Lee, he misses from the corner. Condon gets the rebound and gives it to Hanglockton. Pat shifts over to cover him, and Hanglockton tries to back him down and put it up, but Pat walls up and doesn't budge, and he alters the shot, and Duke's able to get the ball going the other way. Hanglockton's a big dude, and Pat stood his ground and didn't get bullied by him. The second one is against Michigan. Merez Johnson, he screens and rolls here. They Foster and Malik are both up, so Ngongba takes the rolling. Johnson, Malik plays in help. Merez doesn't even dribble here. He just tries to pretty much go through Pat up, and Pat says no thank you and gets a hand on it and blocks it. Merez Johnson's a very good finisher, so this was very impressive. This is the end of the Arkansas game. Acuff gets onto Cam Boozer and he works by him. Boozer played pretty well, pretty much stride for stride, but that last step Acuff got by him. And that whole time, Pat is lurking in help, you can see. Pat, he pretty much lets Brazil go and he's just watching Acuff and he's in help. And once Acuff gets by, Pat jumps halfway up the backboard and smacks it off of the glass. So he's good from both on ball defender and in the help. Here against Virginia Tech, you see the main ball handler, I think that's Ben Hammond. He's on Pat, and Pat plays well on him, but this last separation move gets by him, and Pat's wingspan makes up for it here, which, just like the finishing, he's able to use on the defensive end, and he rejects it. So, yeah. This last one against Indiana State, it's a pretty good sequence for Pat. It's the pick and roll here. Pat slides down, and then the defender tries to take advantage of Pat being on the left and do a little up and under. But Pat had pretty much reads it like a book and makes a great block on it. Duke's going the other way, and they eventually turn it over. Caden can't handle it, and Pat's kind of working back. Caleb is the main on-ball defender for this fast break, and Caleb forces him right by standing to the left pretty much, and so he tries to make a Euro step right on the Pat side. Pat sniffs it out, and another rejection, two blocks there. So, yeah, just the one thing is Pat's fouling tendency. If he can stay clean, then that would boost him up so much as a rim protector and would do wonders for his defensive game. But he is a good anchor to have back there. He doesn't get bullied, stands his ground, and blocks from the help side if needed. A bit last year, it didn't look great. It was only at 26%, but he does have it if needed, I guess. But John really doesn't have centers shooting his system too much. The only center to really shoot was Filipowski in his sophomore year, which he was out of position. He was a natural four, so that's why he really shot it. But Pat does show an ability to shoot it. Here against Florida, Cam has it in the corner and then takes a little dribble in here, gives it to Pat, and they do their kind of ring around, which they did in the clip where he made the pass to Isaiah earlier. And then Condon, he's kind of in no man's land. He doesn't know whether to, he's kind of trying to hedge it a bit, playing the drop to prevent the pass, saying if I'm going to get beat, then it'll be by the shot. And Pat does that. Especially that early in a game, I think that was the first offensive possession for Duke. If you make the center step out and guard you, then it really opens up the paint. They can't play drop like they did right there. Second one against Virginia, Isaiah is pretty much telling him get out of there, and Pat comes up for the high low, which Duke love to do, and Yeto pretty much said shoot it. We're gonna double cam inside. We're not letting you beat us in the paint. And Pat just took the shot, and him being able to shoot it is exactly the importance is right in that video. If he can just become a knockdown standstill shooter, then that can't happen. That won't happen. They'll be forced to play out on him. So, yeah. Then this last one, again, shooting's not a huge part of the game. I'm not going to go too deep into it. This one, it wasn't, it's kind of broken down rebound, but I want to show it. First points of the Arkansas game, he just stepped up and took it. Nice to watch. But I don't know if Pat's shooting role will really expand next year. Honestly, it would be nice to see him at least shoot a higher percentage because then again, the force the center out opens the paint for them to do whatever. But Cam Williams probably starting at the four next year. I don't know how John's really going to utilize the high low that much if Pat with Pat on the perimeter because Cam is more of an outside scorer than inside. But if he can just get around like maybe 30%, and he won't be shooting the ball from deep that much, but if he can just be respectful for where the defender has to step out on you, that would be huge. I'm very bullish on Pat for next year. I think he's going to have an absolutely incredible season. Just fingers crossed on if he can stay healthy with especially that lingering foot injury and the wrist that he was dealing with. But he's pretty much going to have the paint, not to himself, but it should be wide open for him to dominate. Caden, him and Caden work very well together, and I especially expect that to especially grow. Being able to get the lobs and just being under the rim for Caden, because Caden's also going to get a lot better next year. And then the fours are likely going to be Cam Williams and Joaquin Bunte Bunte, and they can really shoot the ball, and this is going to force the defenders to pretty much be out in the perimeter, combine that with Dominic Sarr being able to shoot. So I think Pat's going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups in the paint, especially, and it's also working that high-low, maybe more Cam Williams being out high and Pat being low. That should be, that should really be there for him. and just the team around him is going to be able to shoot. So there's not going to be too many liabilities to where the paint's going to be clogged. Obviously, again, he's going to be at the top of the key a lot, and stuff's going to be happening. He's going to be able to pass the ball. But I think the offense is set up really well for him next year to really grow and be one of the top picks, lottery at least. And on defensive end, again, just stay clean. But he has all the tools in the making to have a great season. Just get healthy, and we'll see what he does. Thanks for tuning in. My article about Pat is on Substack already, which is in my bio on all social medias. And hope you tune in to the next player preview.